Twisted tongue. Does Anthony Mackie think Black Panther was racist? Unless you've been living under a rock, chances are you've seen Anthony Mackie in something in the last 10 years. The 44-year-old actor made his debut in 8 Mile alongside other household names, Brittany Murphy and Eminem, and since has appeared in some of the biggest projects of the decade, including multiple Marvel movies, a Black Mirror episode, and a 2019 remake of Point Blank. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, Mackie pursued drama from a young age and went to a performing arts high school before joining and graduating from Julliard in 2001. Since then, he's been chosen for some huge roles, including Tupac Shakur in Notorious and former Black Panther Marcus opposite Kerry Washington. Surprisingly, it isn't Mackie's run as Captain America's sidekick or the shocking turn his Black Mirror episode takes that's made the most waves. It's his comments on diversity that keep the actor constantly in the headlines. In 2020, 2 years after Black Panther was released, Anthony Mackie sat down with Daveed Diggs for Variety magazine's Classic Actors or Actors interview. During their chat, Anthony claimed it was racist that the cast and the crew for Black Panther had been all black when all the other times he worked with Marvel, they had him working with all white crews, cameramen, and producers. He even suggested that it was more racist to have found an all-black crew for the movie, and that the studio should be focused on hiring the best people for the job, regardless of their race. Mackie mentioned to Diggs that only hiring a black crew for black movies made it look like they weren't good enough to work on a Marvel project with mostly or all-white actors. While Mackie may have been well-meaning, his words immediately sparked a firestorm of reactions, with some fans calling out Mackie for only mentioning the problem once Black Panther was being made. If he really cared about the diversity of the crew, wouldn't he have mentioned it before Black Panther? Even worse, Mackie himself admitted that he had written Marvel many times trying to be cast as the Black Panther, and was confused when they decided to make him the Falcon instead. When he had his first meeting with Marvel, Mackie assumed they wanted him for Black Panther, but it's clear he was somewhat disappointed by the role of the Falcon at first. Could this have provoked his divisive comments about the movie? Since originally making the remarks, Mackie has had to explain himself several times to news outlets and fans who were disappointed by his statements. Some on Twitter accused Mackie of saying that all black crew hired by Marvel were diversity hires, invalidating the hard work they'd done to get a job on a major movie set. Since none of the crew would speak up to defend themselves, it made them an easy target for Mackie, who was potentially still upset about being passed over for the role. On top of that, some found it questionable that Mackie was only bringing this issue up 2 years after the movie had premiered, and 2 months before the death of Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman, who had been out of the public eye somewhat since the movie's release due to his cancer diagnosis. Others wondered why his comments seemed to make a larger deal of what some called reverse racism, instead of calling out Marvel for usually hiring all white crews. No matter how you look at it, Mackie's words had an effect on a lot of people, especially since at the time, Marvel had just begun to get more diverse. Sticking to his guns, Mackie has since doubled down on his idea that Marvel should hire the best people for the job, even if that means they hire a less diverse group of people to work on their movies. Could all this be misguided anger because Mackie wasn't chosen for Black Panther? Or does he have a point? Fans are still divided, but either way, Mackie will go on to have more screen time as the Falcon than he would have in the movie, so it's possible he got the last laugh. Since the character was introduced in Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014, Mackie has been in 6 different Marvel films and starred in his own MCU series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with Sebastian Stan. Unfortunately, Black Panther wouldn't be the last time Mackie would come under fire for a comment about a Marvel project. In 2021, during another interview with Variety, he answered a question about the popular fan theory that his character, the Falcon, and Sebastian Stan's character, the Winter Soldier, could one day have romance blossom between them. Instead of leaning into it or laughing it off, Mackie called the idea twisted and convoluted and claimed it was sad men couldn't be close friends anymore without being thought of as homosexual. He even went as far as to say the idea exploited homosexuality and shut down any future potential romance between the two. Naturally, this sparked a huge amount of debate between Mackie's fans, MCU fans, and members of the LGBTQ community. Fans of all identities responded to Mackie's comments, expressing their disappointment that he couldn't understand why people would be excited about an LGBTQ romance in the MCU, especially between two strong masculine characters. While it's pretty obvious by reading the comics that this isn't where the Falcon or Winter Soldier story is heading, fans felt it was harmless to keep shipping the two online. But Mackie's comments made that harder and harder. Again, he was quoted saying almost inflammatory things about a character in MCU, and this time he had managed to annoy an entire fandom, which any superhero fan knows is dangerous. The LGBTQ community had previously been very supportive of Mackie, since he's one of a few straight black actors in the industry that is really committed to and respected the LGBTQ roles he's been given. In his Black Mirror episode, Mackie's character and his close friend end up in a pseudo-romantic relationship through a video game. And in 2004, Mackie's shown as a black college student who learns about himself and the Harlem Renaissance from an older man in Brother to Brother. That's why it was so shocking to fans when Mackie quickly shot down any romantic hopes between Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes and seemed disgusted by the whole idea. As if that wasn't enough, Mackie decided to go 3 for 3 in an interview about his new series, this time taking on two of the biggest fantasy franchises in the world. When asked about his upcoming film Spark and his experience dealing with directing for the first time, Mackie mentioned that both Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings had little to no black people, saying that Frodo walked across the entire universe and never met a black dude. I want to see Frodo in the hood. While this seems like a topic everyone in the industry could agree on, fans of both franchises were quick to come to the defense of their favorite films, and Mackie almost certainly earned himself more haters with his unfiltered opinion. Although he's certainly passionate, Anthony Mackie doesn't seem to know exactly where he stands on diversity in Hollywood, a topic that's gotten even the most media-trained stars in the industry in trouble. On the one hand, he thought hiring an all-black crew for Black Panther was racist, but on the other, he claimed Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings should have had more diverse hires to prevent them from being all-white productions. So where does he really stand? One thing is obvious. Anthony Mackie isn't afraid to speak his mind, even when he might be better off staying quiet. Fans can't help but wonder if this trend will continue as Mackie becomes more famous, since his new projects will certainly continue to rocket him into the spotlight. Twisted Metal, the next series starring Mackie, will see him play a man who's lost his memory and has one chance to make everything right if he can only deliver a mysterious package. The show is based on a hugely popular and violent video game series and seems like a mix of Mad Max and Guardians of the Galaxy, which means it comes with plenty of loud and opinionated fans. Questions about Mackie's previous comments have already come up, with some wondering how diverse the crew is on Mackie's new project, and if he'll mention it in any future interviews. Since his very first comments about Black Panther, Mackie has made a few other statements about the uber-successful MCU franchise, including praising some of the work done on Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. After visiting the set and checking out the setup for the new film, Mackie was excited for viewers to see the growing world of Wakanda and said as much in a red carpet interview at the 2022 Grammys. Notably, the actor didn't mention anything about the diversity of the crew, stunt doubles, or producers, and some are wondering if Marvel has since coached the actor on what he can and cannot say about the MCU. This would make sense since in Avengers Endgame, the studio made it clear that Mackie would be taking over the character of Captain America from fan favorite Chris Evans, whose character had finally retired. With the announcement of such a big role, it wouldn't be out of the question for Marvel executives to sit down with Mackie and remind him not to talk badly about the franchise he's a part of. The real question viewers have is now that Anthony Mackie is set to be the first Black Captain America in Captain America Brave New World, will he be up to the task, or will he find the job too racially polarizing? The cast of the movie certainly isn't all black, with Mackie, Carl Lumbly, and Zosha Rockmore seemingly the only black main characters. That being said, it isn't all white either, So, will Mackie find an issue with the amount of black or white crew members, stunt doubles, and producers? Or now that Marvel knows Anthony finds an all-black crew for black actors racist, will they try to overcompensate by hiring fewer black crew members? At any rate, it's probably better for Anthony to focus on his own lane, since almost all of the times he's voiced his opinion out loud have gotten him in trouble. Captain America: Brave New World will be Mackie's first chance to star in a role as important as the Black Panther. So here's hoping he can keep his mouth closed long enough not to put his foot in it before the movie comes out. Do you think he can at least make it to the film's release day without a scandal? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. And don't forget to stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.